cartridges and game labels.
What am I, chopped liver?
I often get real horrible condition labels. So honestly, the easiest thing you can do to get rid of like Sharpie on a cartridge is a little bit of rubbing alcohol on a Q-tip and just rub it. Most of the time, you'll see the Sharpie melt away, and it won't discolor. It won't discolor cartridge.
Unless it's one of those deep permanent markers, you could be in trouble.
I've never had a problem with that.
Well, if you're going to do... You can always go Magic Eraser or Mr. Clean.
Yep, you can do Magic Eraser. So I was going to get there. You can do Magic Erasers, and you can do Goo Gone. I've heard a lot of people flip out about Goo Gone. I've never seen Goo Gone discolor a cartridge. Not for spot cleaning.
I've heard more Goo Gone for stuff on the label itself, like for sticky substances.
Goo Gone works... when it comes to actual labels, I'd
be careful.
My main thing is I would be very careful. I don't want to offer any real tips. I personally have had okay results with, I'm talking basically a dry erase Q-tip that has just the minimum amount of rubbing alcohol on it.
Dry erase Q-tip
meaning it's almost dry.
Okay.
Like very, very little rubbing alcohol. You have to be careful with something like Goo Gone on a label because it's oil-based.
It goes to the edge and gets underneath.
It's oil-based. It can get to the edge and get underneath. Rubbing alcohol, like if you've got a spot of something that's like marker right in the middle, and you just quickly brush at it with a Q-tip that has a very, very fine mist of like rubbing alcohol on it, it'll go away. And I mean, it's not, you're not always going to get it perfect, but it's going to be better than before.
For junk on the label, or even another like sticker on the label, another label, I've tried dissolving it in like Windex, because the cool thing about Windex is it usually doesn't run all over. It stays right in the spot if you're careful. So you put a little bit of Windex on, like, say it's like a price tag, it'll dissolve it, and so later you come back and you can just get it off.
That's what I'm talking about doing with rubbing alcohol, which is generally a little bit more liquidy. But that's why I say be dry with it. Use very, very little. Use it sparsely, not the same amount that you would use to clean contacts by any means. If you use it sparsely and you pay attention, you can get another label off that label very, very cleanly.
Here's what I've noticed, though. At least for NES games, the labels on NES games are a lot more tougher than, say, something like an N64 label.
Or even Super Nintendo. This does not apply to every game cartridge.
Do the whole test the corner thing, because I've had it where I try to, do the same tactic of using Windex on an NES cart and took the color, like a layer of color right off an N64 label.
And you have to be really careful with Magic Eraser too. I feel like I even talked about this on the podcast, or I told a customer about it recently. Magic Eraser can take color off a label very easily.
I wouldn't use it on a label.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you accidentally rub it on there, if you're trying to take off like marker, when you're using a Magic Eraser on a console to remove like marks on a console, don't get it anywhere near anything you don't want taken off, like Nintendo Entertainment System, because it will take that paint right off.
Oh yes. And in terms of the inside, cleaning the contacts, of course, rubbing alcohol on Q-tip works 99% of the time. 2 cc's.
2 cc's is all you need.
It's more than enough, actually. 1 cc would be enough.
I feel like 1.5 cc's would be about right.
1.25. And then if that doesn't work, you can always try, people like using a rubber eraser from a pencil, or you get one of those working in. Make sure you clean off the excess. I've seen it work. I've seen Windex work. Again, start with rubbing alcohol. If it doesn't work, go to other things. And then worst case scenario, use Brasso or a brass cleaner.
I would say start with rubbing alcohol, stay with rubbing alcohol, go to Brasso, or use fine sandpaper. I don't like using Windex. I don't like ammonia. That's harsher than anything else we've mentioned.
I've never heard of using ammonia.
Well, there's ammonia in Windex.
Okay. Is it a huge amount, though?
Most window cleaner is largely ammonia.
All right. I don't know myself.
And then what was the other one that you had mentioned? The erasers. I'm fine with the erasers.
I've seen it.
My coworker swears. He says, and I don't doubt him. He says an electrician, a guy who works with electronics, came in and said that too much use of rubber eraser over time will take the more conductive metals off the contacts.
Okay,
but I've never really experienced it as a problem.
Again, start with rubbing alcohol, and then if you do the Brasso, make sure you go back and re-clean it out again. Get that junk off there with another Q-tip rubbing alcohol. Get that shit off there.
Mainly, I'm just covering my ass. I don't want someone to go and ruin a cartridge with a technique that we suggested.
Sure. We should put a disclaimer at the bottom.
Yeah. At your own risk.
Not responsible for... Your results may vary.